Hi everyone, this is Arvind from MindMajix, and today I welcome you all to this amazing session on Cypress interview questions. Okay, so just to give you a background about Cypress, so Cypress is an entirely JavaScript based front-end testing tool that has been primarily developed for the modern web. So its primary objective is to address all the pain points that a developer or a QA engineer faces while testing an application. So one of the best things about it is that it is a developer-friendly tool that uses a distinct DOM manipulation technique. So guys, if you're someone who has an upcoming interview related to front-end testing or Cypress to be very precise, so what you can do is just before your actual interview, you can go through these questions. Okay. And if you're successfully able to answer all of the questions that we're going to cover in this video, so that means that your preparation has been up to date or it is up to the mark. Okay. So just in case if you miss out on the answers of a few questions that we will discuss over here, so what you can do is you can have a look at those answers and then you can revise them before your actual interview. Okay, so that is the whole idea behind the interview question videos. And just before moving ahead, I want you guys to understand that we in this video we are covering approximately 40 questions and we have divided the questions into two categories. So the first 20 questions are meant for freshers, like who have 0 to 2 years of experience related to front-end testing or Cypress. And the next set of questions, that is 21st onwards. So these questions are meant for the experienced candidates. So those candidates who have at least 2 to 3 years of experience with Cypress. Okay, so without any further delay, let's get started. So the first question over here is, how can you define the Cypress testing tool? Okay, so Cypress is a Java-based front-end testing tool, as we have already discussed. So it has been written in Node.js, and the tool is helpful in executing the tests in a browser. So this way, it can help make the entire testing process more reliable and much more easier. Okay, so guys, let's move to the next question. So how will you install Cypress? So to install Cypress, we first have to install Node. Okay, so once we have installed Node.js, we can then install Cypress with the command that is npm install Cypress, as you can see here. So this is the command to install Cypress. The next question is, can you define the Cypress architecture? So behind this tool, there is a node server process, and the node process and Cypress consistently synchronize, communicate, and execute the tasks on behalf of each other. So not just this, Cypress also operates at a network layer by altering and reading the web traffic simultaneously. So this helps Cypress in modifying everything coming from the browser. In addition to this, the tool also becomes capable of changing code that could interfere with its capability to automate the entire browser. The next question is, what are the primary features of Cypress? So if you talk about the features of Cypress, so this tool can run the tests and execute commands on the browser, and hence the tests are much more faster and less flaky. Apart from this, it can take snapshot of the tests after the execution of every step. This way, you won't need any additional plugins. And Cypress also offers network traffic control, inbuilt assertions, and automatic wait. The next question is, what are the advantages of Cypress? So Cypress works with internal AJAX calls and single page applications. So it is capable of executing commands easily and faster in comparison to tool based on Selenium. Apart from this, this tool can easily take screenshot of the test, and thus we don't need to have any configuration with it. Apart from this, it can also run the tests and execute commands on the browser. The next question is a very important question as far as fresher interview questions are concerned. So what are the disadvantages of Cypress? So there are a few drawbacks, or you can say disadvantages of Cypress, such as it only supports JavaScript and it is available only for web-based testing. Apart from this, it doesn't support multiple tabs and it doesn't support iframes. The next question is, what do you mean by Cypress CLI? So Cypress CLI is helpful in offering the capability for running the Cypress tests in command line. So it is one such feature that is used to run the Cypress tests in the pipelines. Moreover, it also offers flags control, and options of the Cypress test behavior. The next question is, name some of the browsers that Cypress supports. So guys, as you can see on the screen, these are the various browsers that are supported by Cypress, such as Electron, Firefox, Edge, Chromium, and Chrome. The next question is, how do you differentiate Cypress from Selenium? Okay, so Cypress supports TypeScript and JavaScript languages, and on the other hand, Selenium supports all of the major programming languages such as C#, Python, Java, Ruby, JavaScript, and so on. So while Selenium supports all of the major browsers, Cypress supports just a few of them. In Selenium, the configuration is difficult, whereas in Cypress, you can find ready-to-use frameworks. So these were some of the critical differences between Cypress and Selenium. The next question is, what are the testing frameworks that come with Cypress? So Cypress is available with Chai and Mocha assertion libraries. However, we cannot use the test-ng or JUnit in Cypress. The next question is, how can you interact with DOM elements in Cypress? So we can use CSS selector to interact with the DOM elements in Cypress. The next question is, can you use BDD with Cypress? So Cypress doesn't provide any official inbuilt support for BDD. However, the npm Cypress Cucumber preprocessor plugin lets you write tests with BDD Cucumber syntax. After this, it will automatically translate the same into Cypress. The next question is, what do you mean by hooks in Cypress? So Cypress hooks are generally used to set or define preconditions that we wish to execute either before every test or before a set of tests. So some of the available hooks are after each, after, before each, and before. The next question is, how will you manage reusability in Cypress framework? So Cypress comprises by default the command.js and index.js in the support folder. Index.js runs before each test file, and we can put the reusable behavior such as global override and custom commands in this particular folder. The next question is, define the components of Cypress. So guys, as you can see, these are the components of Cypress. As you can see on the screen, the first component is the test runner. So basically, test runner tests in an interactive runner, which further helps by letting you see the command and execute the same while viewing the application that is under the test. The next component is the app preview. So this component helps in seeing the tests while executing the commands. After this, you have the test status. So this assists in displaying a summary of what tests are in progress and which particular tests have failed or passed. After this, you have the command log. So command log showcases the command logs while executing the tests. After this, you have the URL preview. So this displays the URL of the test and it helps in tracking the entire URL route. And last but not the least, you have the viewport sizing. So this particular component helps in setting the app viewport size for testing the varying layouts. The next question is, what do you mean by automation in Cypress? So Cypress automation is a process that runs a test code with the app. So this test can't be executed in a single loop. However, it takes place in a single browser, and Node.js server is generally used in the tasks that happen outside. The next question is, define Cypress run. So Cypress run assists in executing the Cypress tests in the headless browsers. So it also assists in opening a new browser tab, and along with that, it is also helpful in loading the tool at the URL Cypress, which was earlier installed from the same. So Cypress assists in discovering the Cypress.json, and apart from this, it continues to run the tests on the Webpack monitor. The next question is, what selectors does Cypress support? So by default, this tool only supports CSS selectors, but we can also use third-party plugins to use the XPath selectors. The next question is, how will you open Cypress window and execute the tests? So once we have installed Cypress, we can open it using the npm Cypress open command. After this, once you click on the test file name, then you can execute the test that you want. The next question is, how to see the default configuration in this tool. So the default configuration can be seen under on Cypress window test runner, and there you will have to click on settings and then click on configurations. So the next question is kind of a scenario based question. So for experienced candidates, depending upon your experience, so you will mostly be asked scenario kind of questions, like you will be given a code snippet and you will be asked questions based on that particular code. Okay, so here the question says, how will you create a test suite in Cypress? Okay, so we can develop a describe block as it acts as a suite, and inside this particular block, every test can be created using single it block. Okay, so if you have a look at this particular code, so here we have first described the test suite using describe, and inside this you have the test case. Okay, so inside it you have test case 1, and then for that particular test case you have the code. Okay, and apart from this you have another describe block where you have mentioned the test suite, and then you have mentioned the test case as well, and then the particular code. So describe block, and inside it you use the single it block. The next question is it possible to use XPath in Cypress? So by default, Cypress doesn't support XPath, but with the help of the Cypress XPath plugin, we can use the XPath to interact with all of the DOM elements, and then we can install the plugin through the npm using the command npm install cypress-xpath. The next question is, how can you verify the title of a page in Cypress? Okay, so title of a page in Cypress can be easily verified through the should assertion. Okay, so just to give you an example, here you have written cy.title, whatever title of the page that you have, and then you are using should assertion using dot should, and then in single braces you have specified eq, and then you specify the site of your page. Okay, so this is just an example, my site title. You can specify whatever title that your particular page has. So the next question says, how can you read values from the configuration file? So we can read the values of cypress.config file through the cypress.config. And just to give you an example, if we have managed to define the env in the config.json file, such as env:stage, so the same can be accessed in the script as you can see over here, let timeout equal to cypress.config and then the environment. So in this particular way, you can read the values from the configuration file. The next question says, how do you maintain the test data in Cypress? So generally, the fixture folder has the important data in the Cypress project, and it helps in getting the data input from all of the external files. So all of the test data can be used for multiple tests, and also every bit of fixture data can be declared before the hook block. So here, just to give you an example, what you have done is you have mentioned the cy.fixture and the path of the test data. The next question is, how will you verify whether a button is visible or not? A button is visible or not can be verified using the command cy.get, and here you have specified the button form submit, and again you have used the should assertion by specifying dot should, and it should be visible, like you have mentioned b.visible. So in this particular way, you can verify whether a button is visible or not. So the next question is, define the types of assertions in Cypress. So guys, there are basically two types of assertion in Cypress. The first one is the positive assertion, and the second one is the negative assertion. So here for positive assertion, what you can do is you can write cy.get, and here you have specified li.todo, and then you are using should and have length equal to 3. So in this particular positive assertion, you are specifying, or you're trying to check whether the length is specified to 3 or not. And in negative assertion, you have specified cy.get li.todo, and then inside the should you have not length, like not have length, and then you have specified 2. Okay, so this was just an example of positive and negative assertion. The next question is, how will you perform API testing in Cypress? So guys, I believe this is a very important question for experienced candidates. So the API testing in Cypress can be performed using the command. So guys, in this particular answer, we have specified the code snippet. So here you have mentioned describe, and then you have mentioned API testing in Cypress function. Okay, so once you enter this describe block, so here you have specified in it, hit get request validate its response, status code and body. So here you have mentioned cy.request and the method that is used is get, and then you specify the URL. So the URL, for example, over here is randomuser.me and then the API. Okay, so here you have specified the results equal to 1 in the QS, and then you have mentioned the response. So these are the types of responses that you're expecting while performing the API testing. So you can expect response.status.to.eq to 200. And apart from this, you can expect response.body to have property, which is nothing but the info. Okay, so using this particular code, you can perform API testing in Cypress. So guys, let's move to the next question. How will you run single spec file in the command line? So the single spec file can be run through the spec option using the command, as you can see on the screen, npm cypress run and then 2 hyphen and then the spec command, and with spec command you have to specify the myspec.ts. The next question is, how will you access shadow DOM in Cypress? So shadow DOM generally helps in letting hidden the DOM trees that has to be attached to the elements in a regular DOM tree. So shadow DOM can be comprehended using the command, as you can see on the screen, cy.get, and then you have specified the locator and then .shadow, after that .find, and then in this you have written .nv.button, and then you have mentioned the .click command. Okay, so using this particular command, you can access shadow DOM in Cypress. The next question is, how will you verify the title of a page in Cypress? To verify the title of a page in Cypress, you can use the command such as cy.title and then the should assertion. Inside this, you have specified EQ and then the title of your page. The next question is, how will you press keyboard keys in Cypress? So the keyboard keys can be pressed using the command cy.get and then the locator. Then you have specified .type and then you have specified the keys that you want to press in Cypress. Such as here you have mentioned Shift, Alt, and then you can also specify whatever keyboard keys that you want. The next question is, how can you create custom commands in Cypress? So the custom commands can be created using the command, as you can see over here, cypress.commands.add, and then you are using the login over here, and then you have to specify the username and password. After this, inside this, you have specified cy.get, and then you are trying to get the username using the .type username, and then you get the password using cy.get, the password over here, and then you have specified like the username .type password, and then you have to click on login using cy.get. Here you have specified the login and .click method. Okay, so in this particular way, you can create custom commands in Cypress. The next question is, how will you change the base URL dynamically? So you can change the base URL dynamically using the CLI command. As you can see over here, you have to specify npx space cypress space run and then --config base URL equal to, and the in double quotes you have to specify the URL that you wish to change. The next question is, how will you create suites in Cypress? So a describe block can be created as it acts as a suite. Inside that, every test can be created as a single it block. The next question is, can you define some Cypress commands? So guys, as you can see over here, these are some of the very useful commands in Cypress. So if you talk about this command, cy space visit cy.visit command. So this command is used to navigate to a particular website. Okay, the next command over here is cy.log and then then cy.log. So this particular command is used to showcase Cypress console logs during the executions. After this, to get the DOM elements in Cypress, what you can use? You can use cy.get cy.get. And last but not the least, to get the current URL of a page that is active currently, what you can use? You can use cy.url cy.url and round braces. The next question is, list some of the commands that can be used to interact with the DOM elements. So guys, as you can see on the screen, these are the very useful commands to interact with the DOM elements, such as .click. So to click on an element, you can use this command .click. So to double click an element, what you can use .dbl click. Similarly, to right click an element, you can use .right click, and to type on text boxes or any particular element, you can use .type command. After this, to clear the text boxes or fields, you can use .clear command. And last but not the least, to check the radio or the check boxes, you can use .check command. So the next question says, can you define an environment variable in Cypress? So the environment variables are referred to such variables whose value is set at a level of the operating system. So it is set outside the content of the framework or a program. So to use an environment variable, we have to define it in cypress.json. And how do you define this? You define this inside curly braces such as env, colon, and another curly braces, you have to specify key and value. After this, once we have defined, we can access them in the script just by using the command cy.visit cypress.env and then the key. And after this, you have to execute the command cypress run --env, and then you have to specify key equal to value in double quotes. So guys, just to give you an example, here you can find an environment variable created in cypress.json. So the previous slide was just the syntax to create the environment variable. So over here we have used the environment colon token. So this is particular token is the key and this is the value. So let token value equal to cypress.env token, and to use that particular value, what you can do is you can run the command cypress run --env token, and token is specified in double quotes. Then mention equal to, and in double quotes you have to mention the value, which is some random value over here. The next question is, how will you define preserve cookies and why are they important? So by default, Cypress clears the cookies after each particular test, and to stop clearing these cookies, we use preserve cookies in Cypress. So guys, just to give you an example, here we have written a code snippet, or like we have written a few lines of code. So here we have used the describe and we have mentioned the my test, and inside it you have written the test one, like this means a test case. So after this you have written some of the code to test. After this you have another test case in it like test2 and that particular code which you are trying to test. After this you have another test case inside it, and then following is the code for that particular test case. Okay, so in the code mentioned above, we have got three tests such as test1, test2, and test3, which are nothing but test cases. So let's suppose you have logged into your application in test1. So after executing the test1, when it goes to test2, it again asks to log in as login sessions and cookies were clear after the test1. So all of this happens by default in Cypress, and this problem can be handled by adding a code in the test as mentioned over here. So what you can do is inside the describe my test. So before each, you can use this command cypress.cookies preserve once, and here you have to mention the session ID and remember token. So using this particular command, you can preserve the cookies for this particular test case, and if you want to reuse those cookies in the next test case, so you can use it. So like the previous code, we have written test case 1 like test1, test2, and test3. So all of the previous cookies for test1 will be preserved for test case 2, and for the cookies that were used for these particular test cases, test 1 and test 2. You can use them in the test 3 as well. The next question is, how will you get the first as well as the last child of a chosen element? So the first and the last child of a chosen element can be acquired through dot first and the dot last command. Okay, so just to give you an example, what you can do is you can use the command cy.get, and then in round braces you can specify input, and then again in square braces you can specify name equal to rows. As you can see over here, this is the command that I just discussed. And let's suppose these selectors return several elements, for instance, say a 6 of them. So what you can do is, to get the first child of the chosen element, what you can do is you can use the command cy.get input name equal to rows in the single quotes, and then you have to specify dot first method. After this, to get the last child of the chosen element, you can use the command cy.get input name equal to rows and dot last. So guys, with this, we have come to the end of this session on Cypress interview questions. I hope you guys have enjoyed this session and you have understood whatever questions that we have just covered in this particular video. So if at all you have any doubts related to the questions that we have just discussed, then you can write your doubts and queries in the comment section, and we will try to resolve them as early as possible. So guys, I wish you all the very best for your upcoming interview. Thank you so much for being with us and have a good day.